Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're unraveling a bone-chilling thriller that will leave you speechless and disturbed. We'll be walking you through a story where a quiet family vacation takes a terrifying turn, and trust me, you won't want to miss a second. In this video, we're diving into a psychological horror that explores manipulation, deception, and the darkest corners of human nature. Beware, this will contain major spoilers, so proceed with caution. Our story begins innocently enough in the beautiful Tuscan countryside. Bjorn and Louise, a Danish couple, are vacationing with their young daughter, Agnes. They're enjoying what seems like a perfect getaway when they meet Patrick and Karen, a Dutch couple who are also vacationing in the area with their son, Abel. Abel, however, has a rare condition, congenital aglossia, which means he was born without a tongue. It's a haunting detail that immediately sets an unsettling tone, especially as we begin to see Patrick and Karen's odd behavior around him. Bjorn and Louise seem to bond with Patrick and Karen, or at least, that's what they believe at first. What starts as a casual friendship turns into an invitation. Patrick and Karen ask Bjorn and Louise to visit them at their secluded house in the Netherlands. A strange invitation, given that they've only just met. And yet, intrigued and perhaps a bit flattered, the Danish couple agrees. After an exhausting 8-hour drive, Bjorn, Louise, and Agnes arrive at Patrick and Karen's remote home. It's isolated, quiet, and seemingly peaceful. But something feels off. Louise, in particular, starts to sense this right away. From small, passive-aggressive comments about her vegetarianism to Patrick's unsettling way of dismissing her boundaries, the tension starts to build. Patrick's behavior toward his own son, Abel, only adds to the growing discomfort. He's cold, dismissive, and at times outright abusive, mocking Abel for his condition. Louise can't shake the feeling that something is very wrong, but it's subtle enough that Bjorn brushes it off, trying to stay polite, even as their host's behavior crosses lines. Then comes a moment that pushes Louise's discomfort to the edge. The Dutch couple invites Bjorn and Louise out for dinner, leaving the children behind with a babysitter, a man named Muhajid. Louise is immediately hesitant. The idea of leaving Agnes behind in an unfamiliar place with a stranger doesn't sit well with her. But despite her reservations, they go. As if her discomfort wasn't already high, dinner itself turns into a nightmarish experience. Patrick, now clearly intoxicated, becomes antagonistic. He challenges Louise's vegetarianism, making fun of her in front of everyone. The tension between the couples is thick, but Bjorn, trying to avoid conflict, laughs it off. But Patrick's provocations only escalate. Then, in a shocking display of inappropriate behavior, Patrick and Karen drunkenly start making out right at the dinner table, paying no mind to their guests. This is no longer just awkward, it's deeply unsettling. The whole evening has spiraled into chaos, with Patrick's manipulations becoming more obvious. He even tricks Bjorn into paying for the entire dinner. But the real nightmare begins on the way back home. Patrick insists on driving despite being heavily drunk, blasting loud music and swerving recklessly through the roads. Louise is visibly upset, but Bjorn says nothing. Patrick's behavior becomes more invasive when they arrive back at the house. He walks in on Louise while she's in the shower, watching her through the slightly cracked door. If that wasn't enough, he later takes Agnes into his and Karen's bed without her parents' permission. That night, Louise wakes to find Agnes sleeping next to a naked Patrick. This is the breaking point. Horrified, she wakes Bjorn, and the family makes a desperate attempt to flee the house. But just as they are about to drive away, Agnes realizes she's left behind her beloved stuffed rabbit, Ninus. Against Louise's better judgment, they return to the house to retrieve it. Back at the house, Patrick and Karen confront them about their sudden decision to leave, acting hurt and disappointed. But as Bjorn tries to explain their discomfort, Patrick turns the conversation around, manipulating the couple into feeling guilty. Louise lists all the disturbing things she's noticed, but Patrick's charm is unnerving. In the end, they convince Bjorn and Louise to stay, playing on their insecurities and doubts. Things seem calmer the next day, but a darkness still lingers. Bjorn and Patrick go out together to run errands, and during this trip, Patrick pushes Bjorn to open up emotionally. Bjorn talks about his frustrations, how he suppresses his true self to avoid confrontation. Patrick's response. He takes Bjorn to a secluded beach where they practice screaming therapy, a disturbing ritual that only deepens the unsettling bond between them. But soon, the facade starts to crack further. Louise injures herself while cooking, and in the chaos, they discover that Patrick has been lying the whole time. He isn't a doctor, as he claimed. He's unemployed, living off manipulation. The tension peaks when Patrick abuses Abel again during dinner, throwing a mug at the wall. But what happens next is truly terrifying. That night, Bjorn stumbles upon a hidden cabin on the property. Inside, he finds a disturbing collection of luggage and photographs. The photos depict Patrick and Karen with other families just like them, who visited under similar circumstances. Bjorn realizes the horrifying truth. Patrick and Karen are serial killers, targeting families, killing the parents, and abducting the children. In a state of panic, Bjorn tries to escape with his family, but along the way, he finds Abel's lifeless body floating in the pool. They make a desperate run for their lives, but just when they think they're safe, their car breaks down. Bjorn leaves to search for help, but when he returns, Louise has unknowingly called Patrick for assistance. As they're driven back, Louise begins to sense the danger. Her suspicion grows, but it's already too late. Patrick and Karen's accomplice, Muhajid, arrives. The nightmare reaches its horrifying climax when Karen cuts out Agnes' tongue, leaving her voiceless and abducting her to raise as their own. Bjorn and Louise are taken to a deserted road, where they are forced to strip. In his final moments, Bjorn asks Patrick why they are doing this. Patrick's chilling reply. Because you let me. With those cold words, they are street.